So, when a giant like Lockheed Martin, one of the world's biggest defense contractors, drops its latest financial report, it's a lot more than just numbers on a page. It really gives us a peek into what's happening with global security and the tech of tomorrow. And their newest report, well, it tells a fascinating story. You've got this unprecedented demand clashing head on with some really serious and kind of surprising pressures. So let's dive in and break down what it all means.
The very first thing that just jumps right out at you is this number, $194 billion. That's the headline figure, the key that really unlocks this whole story. We're going to come back to what it means in a second, but for now, just let that scale sink in. It is massive.
And right away, we hit this weird central puzzle. On one hand, Lockheed brought in way more money than Wall Street expected. That's a huge win. But at the exact same time, they were less profitable than everyone thought, missing their earnings target. So what's the real story here? How can a company be selling more than ever before, but actually making less money on each sale? To figure that out, we've really got to dig into their report card. And honestly, it is a mixed bag. You've got some A-plus results sitting right next to some areas that, clearly need a little work. All right, here are the hard numbers. Wall Street was predicting revenue of about $19.8 billion. Lockheed smashed that, pulling in over $20.3 billion. That's a solid beat. But then you look at the earnings. The market expected $6.33 per share in profit. They only delivered $5.80. That gap right there is where the concern is. It tells you that while sales are absolutely booming, the costs of actually doing business are climbing even faster. So let's start with the good news. And believe me, it is really good news. It's a story of demand. In a world that feels pretty unstable, there is this massive, record-breaking appetite for the kind of technology that Lockheed Martin builds. Now, to really get this, you have to understand a key term, backlog. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. Just think of it like a company's giant to-do list, where every single item on that list is a confirmed, already paid-for order that just needs to be built and delivered. And that brings us right back to our big number. Lockheed's backlog has swelled to a record $194 billion. To put that into perspective, their own CEO points out that this is roughly 2.5 times their total annual sales. They literally have years of guaranteed work already locked in. And you don't have to take my word for it. The CEO, Jim Teichlet, he didn't mince words. He called the demand in 2025 unprecedented. This isn't just, a good year. It points to a historic surge in orders from the U.S. government and its allies all over the world. Okay, so you're probably asking the same thing I was. If demand is this incredible, what is putting the squeeze on profits? This is the other side of that mixed report card, and it really shows the intense pressure of trying to deliver on all those orders. Well, the report is pretty upfront about the trouble spots. Their aeronautics division took a hit from losses on some kind of secret, classified program. Then, the division that builds helicopters, their profits dropped by almost a third because of cost overruns. And, on top of all that, higher interest rates and taxes are just making everything more expensive for the whole company. So, what do? You've got record demand on one side and these intense pressures on the other. Well, Lockheed's answer seems to be a massive multi-billion-dollar bet on one thing, production. They're going all in on building more and building it faster than ever before. And CEO Jim Teichlet, he frames this as more than just an investment. He sees it as a fundamental shift in how they do things. He calls a new agreement for their PAC-3 missile interceptors groundbreaking, a move to bring that commercial world efficiency to the traditionally slower defense industry. And the star of this whole production push? It's this right here, the PAC-3 MSE interceptor. It's one of the most advanced air defense systems on the planet. And demand for it is, well, it's absolutely exploding. And just get a load of the scale of this ramp up. Right now, Lockheed can build about 600 of these missiles a year. With their new investment, they're going to boost that capacity to 2,000 a year. That is more than tripling their output. It's a direct answer to that global demand. And don't think this is just a one-off plan. Nope. They're applying the exact same long-term production framework to their TIAD interceptor, which is another crucial piece of missile defense. This is a company-wide strategic shift. But look, meeting today's demand, that's only half the battle. To stay on top, you have to keep an eye on the future, right? So Lockheed is also writing its next chapter by pouring a ton of money into the kind of tech that will define what warfare looks like down the road. And when I say they're investing, I mean they're putting some serious cash on the table. For 2026, the company is setting aside nearly $5 billion for capital expenditures. That's things like new factories and tools, and for pure research and development. So what does that R&D money buy you? Well, it's funding some truly futuristic projects. We're talking about an autonomous Black Hawk helicopter that uses AI to fly itself, a quiet supersonic jet, a robotic drone wingman that's controlled by an F-22 pilot, and even a high-energy laser that can shoot drones right out of the sky. I mean, this is stuff that sounds like it's straight out of a movie, but it is happening right now. And on top of all that future tech, they're also doubling down on their most important program today. They've committed another $1 billion just to improve the readiness of the entire global F-35 fleet. The goal there is to make sure the jets that have already been delivered are always ready to go at a moment's notice.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway from inside the company? Well, the CEO summed it up with a message of just total confidence. He said he's more sure than ever that Lockheed can deliver for its military customers and its investors, navigating today's challenges to win tomorrow's contracts. Which leaves all of us with one big question to chew on. When a giant like Lockheed faces record demand, feels this profit squeeze, and responds by betting billions on both mass production and futuristic tech, are we looking at the new blueprint for the entire defense industry? Now that is something to think about.